Since 2008, I've run over 5,000 events and hosted well over 1 million people. This podcast is for event planners and marketers and the industry's brightest minds. My name is Nick Field, and this is the Professional Partier Podcast. You can follow me at Nicholas John Field on all your major social networks. In this episode, I interview Gaz Brooks, who runs the largest promotions team in Las Vegas. We talk about the industry, how it's changed, and how most of the industry has gone online, leaving a void in street promotions, which Gaz and his company Footfall have come in and absolutely dominated. Gaz is one of the most experienced club promoters on the planet, working in some of the largest markets for the largest clubs. He breaks down how he got there and what it takes to be successful and what some of the largest names in the industry have done to get where they are. If you're running events and not running a street team, then you need to listen to Gaz and what he has to say. If you find this interesting, the only way for this channel to grow is for you to subscribe and to leave us a good rating. So please, if you find this helpful, please subscribe, rate us, and forward this to a friend who may find this interesting. Thank you very much. Enjoy. Hey, I'm Nick. Welcome to the Professional Partier Podcast. Hi, my name is Nick. Welcome to the Professional Partier Podcast. Please like and subscribe. We are here today with my guest, Gaz Brooks. Gaz is a veteran in the nightlife industry here in Las Vegas. He's run promotions teams and run nightclubs here for a long time. Welcome, Gaz. Thank you for coming to the show. Appreciate it.
No problem. Welcome to do it.
Yeah. So, Gaz, why don't we start off at the beginning? Like, give me your life story.
I won't go into too much detail, but basically, in 2000, I just finished. Basically, I had a construction company, a roofing company. A friend of mine was buying into a nightclub business, which was called God's Kitchen. Back in England, it was one of the super clubs.
Yeah.
And he asked me if I'd go over to Ibiza to oversee his money and the operation there, because he was a partner in that business and he'd just started it. So he couldn't go, so he sent me. I didn't know anything about the promotion business. Like I said, I'd been a roofer for 12 years previous to that.
Yeah.
Went to Ibiza, never been there before. Basically, how that took off, the two people that were running it sort of failed miserably in the first couple of weeks. He asked me, that's the owner, Neil Moffat, asked me if I could take it over. And after being a construction worker, promotions is a little bit easier than carrying tiles up and down a roof all day, right?
Well, must have made a good impression.
Yeah. So I took it over, loved it, fell in love with doing it. I had a street team of 15 girls, 15 guys, all young, all mad clubbers, all musically intelligent. Ibiza was, in my opinion, at its height then.
Yeah.
In 2000. We packed the club, which was Amnesia, on a Tuesday night with about 6,000 to 8,000 people every week.
Wow.
But we worked for 6 days to do one night on the island. Did that for 4 years. And then when I came back to England, because they'd basically cancelled Ibiza. That company, God's Kitchen didn't want to do Ibiza anymore.
Yeah.
They were going to concentrate on England and concentrate on their dance festival they had.
Yep.
So basically in between then, I was doing tours, because Ibiza's only a 6-month season. So in the other 6 months, we were doing tours of America, which included Vegas. We might do a couple of gigs in Vegas. Do a couple of gigs in Denver and a couple of gigs in LA.
What do you mean gigs? Like,
well, we'd bring a DJ. Neil Moffat was the first person to put a DJ inside a club, inside a casino nightclub. And it was Ra, which then was to become LAX.
oh, okay. Over at the Luxor.
Yeah. So
Yep.
the first one was Oakenfold. Paul Oakenfold played it.
Nice.
And the second one was Fergie, because back then Fergie was one of the biggest DJs on the planet.
Yep.
But as things turned out, I went back to England and was working mainly on the festival, which was like an EDC, exactly the same as EDC. We were one of the pioneers of that. There was another one, huge one called Creamfields, which still goes around the world today. I went back and was working on that. Basically, I took the festival. When I started doing the festival, it was doing about 35,000 people. Then the first one I did, it did about 55,000 people. And then the third one I did, went up to like 100,000 people.
And where was this festival taking place?
It was in actually my hometown, which was Stratford-upon-Avon, which is where Shakespeare was born.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah. So it was a little outside that town at an old disused airfield.
Cool. So
there was huge arenas for like between 8,000 and 10,000 people for different genres of music.
Yeah.
So there was drum and bass. There was like primarily a house tent. There was a hard house, more hard house type tent, which was God's Kitchen's own brand. And a couple of other tents of different genres of music both days. I did that for a couple of years. The person who owned the company had moved to Vegas in 2005.
Yeah.
So I'd come over here and I'd vacation here every year and see him. So he's like my best friend. So every time I came here, I'd walk the strip and never saw any promotions. And it was the same in 2000 when I'd walk the strip. I'm just like, nobody's promoting anything here.
Yeah.
It's nothing like Spain or Europe or anything like that. So in 2007, I remember sitting on the couch with him saying, I like it here. And he says, why don't you move here? You need to understand, I'm like from a, it's not a really, it was like a bad area. It was like a council house estate, Section 8 housing estate in England. Nobody in my street had even been to America, let alone thought about living there. So I eventually got a visa and I moved. And I came from being one of the biggest promoters in Europe to Las Vegas. And my first job, he let me know, was to wear a suit and give flyers out on the floor of MGM. So it was a bit of a culture shock, but he said, if you're going to learn the business here, you've got to start from the bottom.
Yeah.
Bring what you know, start from the bottom and work up. So I worked at MGM, and the two clubs they had there were Taboo, which isn't there anymore. It's a different, I think it's called a whiskey bar.
Whiskey Down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there was Studio 54, which is now Hakkasan.
Yeah.
So we just promoted those. And as the years went along, we picked up, we bought Pure Management Group. Let's say he bought Pure Management Group, which included Pure, where Omnia is standing now.
Yep.
LAX, which is the original club. We had a few other bars and a few restaurants. We took those over, was doing well with those, still doing the street promo, stuff like that. At this point, I'm still a promotion manager. So then Moffat did a deal with Hakkasan, the restaurant group. They then tore down Studio 54 and built Hakkasan. The cost, I think it was about 90 million.
Yep.
We started doing that, and obviously it elevated Vegas as Vegas was growing, the nightlife scene was growing.
Yes.
And then I think it was about a year later, they did
Omnia.
Yeah. And then obviously that changed Vegas a little bit. But as far as the work was concerned, I had, at the time, I had about 60 promoters, and we were promoting bars, restaurants, and primarily Wet Republic, Hakkasan, Omnia, One Oak. Then we opened Jewel inside the area, and we got Liquid by default for that. So we had all those venues. Basically did that, went elevated to vice president of promotions for Hakkasan Group. Then Neil Moffat left the company. He'd sold a lot of the company, stock in his company, and then he left the company.
Yeah.
And new CEO, Nick McCabe, took it over, but it wasn't the same. It was good, and I enjoyed the work. I actually loved the work, but I didn't love the politics.
Yeah.
And the politics were getting to me more and more and more, and causing me issues like mental issues and stuff like that, which we'll get into, I'm sure. And I got an offer from Pasha Group, which is the infamous nightclub in Ibiza.
That's the Hangar, right?
It's the Cherries.
It's the what?
It's the Cherries.
Oh, okay.
It's two famous Cherries.
Yeah.
So that club's been open 56, 57 years. Used to be a farmhouse, and they turned it into a nightclub.
Okay.
You got actual Pasha, the club, and then Leo, which was like a live show with dinner, which was quite famous because it's in the harbour. and a few other things. But Pasha was the main club. Every DJ who's been anything for 30 years has played at that venue, including a lot of artists that have played there. So I went to Ibiza in 2019, built a street team there. But like I said, I'd lived there more or less for 6 months of the year, 4 years previous, and it's like a family there. There's a lot of expats there, Brits, Dutch, all sorts of people, and nothing really had changed. They were still there, and went back there, did really well. Did a couple of record-breaking events there. Did one record-breaking event with Calvin Harris. Sold the third most amount of tickets that venue's ever sold in nearly 60 years. So it was good.
It's been open for 60 years?
Yeah, Nike's been open for nearly 60 years.
Wow.
Yeah. It's, everybody you've ever heard of has been to that nightclub. It's similar to, it's like the American version of Studio 54, but it's stayed open all the way through it.
Yeah.
From way back in the 60s, and, all the stars and film stars of the 60s, they'd go to that venue and stuff like that. So it's a really iconic venue. But then COVID hit. And then in Spain, when COVID hit, the rules in Spain were you weren't allowed to leave your house at all on that island. So you were allowed to go once to go to the supermarket, or you were allowed out a couple of times to visit a pharmacy. But it was very heavily policed. It was like a police state.
Yeah.
That's all I can picture it. So it was really tough. It was really tough. It was like everybody was imprisoned in their own apartments. And I had a beautiful apartment on the harbour, but it was still like a prison, right? But it was really tough on people. And then a friend of mine who lives in LA, who basically we started back in the God's Kitchen days, he got worried about me and just said, you can't live like that. You drive yourself insane, because there's people going insane here. There's a lot of suicide here.
Yeah.
He flew me the first opportunity he could. He's got big connections at British Airways. So the first flight that British Airways did out of Ibiza Airport, he had me on it. And then from there, I stayed over in London and he flew me out to LA.
Nice.
But when I went to Pasha and Ibiza, I was probably worth $3 million. When I came back to LA in April, June of 2020, I had $8,000 to my name. That was it.
Yeah.
After, 19 years worth of work. So it was really humbling. Sorted myself out, and just on a whim, we were just downstairs, and he said to me, he goes, "What are you going to do next?" I said, I really don't know. And he really looked after me and he took care of me and stuff like that. But he said, "What are you going to do next?" I said, "I don't know." Because as you can imagine, I'm pretty down in the dumps, as we say in England.
Right.
And not really planning on doing anything. He said, "Why don't you just start your own promo company up? You've always wanted to. You've gone on about it for 5-6 years. Why don't you do it?" I said, "Because I haven't got any money." He said, "Well, I'm sure you've worked with people." He said, "I'm not going to give you the money." And he's a wealthy guy, but he says, "I'm not going to give you the money. I'll help you, but I'm not giving you the money. If you can find a way to do it, I'll help you." So I found a really good investor, a friend who used to run student tours, still does. And he said to me, he goes, "Are you seriously going to do this?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Okay, this is the deal. I'll give you money." He said, I'm just going to give you the money. What you need to do is set yourself up, go to Vegas, do it all off your own back. I'll help you, and we'll help you. But if you do it, I want 20% of it. I said, okay. So I did it, set it up, went through all the rigmarole of learning, liability insurance and stuff like that. We landed a few contracts in Vegas straight from the start. And basically I'm still doing that now. I still love doing it. I love doing it in Las Vegas. It's very similar. To me, it's like the American version of Ibiza. Whereas all the Europeans will go to Ibiza to party and, go to clubs and see the DJs, both at pool parties, beach parties, and nightclubs.
Yep.
Americans do the same thing here. And they come here. So there's a lot of similarities between them both. So we still do that now. I still enjoy it now. There's a lot of ups and downs every day with it.
Yeah.
But I love it.
You've seen a lot happen in the industry. You've been in the industry here in Las Vegas alone for, that's 17 years. That sound about right? Am I doing my math correctly?
Yeah, I'm old.
And it's interesting because when I came to Vegas, that was 2011. And I've seen nightclubs turn over again and again and again. I've seen players in the nightclub industry change. Like there's very few faces that you see from 5 years ago, let alone 10 years ago. And what is it that how do you interpret that and the nightclub industry, and how is that why does it change so much?
I think a lot of people, naturally, some people make a lot of money or get bought out, and they just leave when they make enough money. They're looking for an exit. It's like an exit strategy. Maybe they do some, but if they do it purely for money, as soon as they make the money, they're out. Mm-hmm. A lot of people get burnt out. A lot of people do stupid things and get thrown out or get forced out. There's plenty of them. But the other thing is, not to go too deeply into it or get too deep in it, now it's being recognised with people who have, mental issues and stuff like that. Vegas can bring them on really fast. Somebody told me an old guy from Vegas, veteran guy in Vegas told me a long time ago, Vegas will find out what your weak point is and then exploit it to the point until you leave. And it's true. It doesn't matter whether it's gambling, whether it's women, whether it's guys, whether it's drugs or drink or cars or property, whatever it is, it will find your weakness. And basically, you'll indulge in it to the point where you can't do it anymore. So, but the one thing I see, over and over and over now, not that I'm knocking any of the new blood that's coming through, they have different ideas, they have different ways of doing things. There's a lot of different mediums, like social media is massive now.
Yeah.
Websites are massive now, all the online stuff now, TikTok, stuff like that. It's all massive genres of promotions. But the problem is, I seen all this back in the day. I seen all this back in 2001, 2002, where everybody told me that online promotions and online signups would wipe out street promotions.
Yep.
But it never has, anywhere. But going back to what you were saying about people being in the industry, you're right. There's not many around now. I've watched them all one by one go away. There's still a few. And in just my opinion is, the ones that are still around now, their experience, what they've been through and the things they've seen change that I have, really aids them now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you're talking, it's like if I'm having a conversation with certain people that have been doing this for over 10, 15 years, it's like you're talking the same language as they're talking.
Yeah.
Whereas you try and explain this to some guy who's been in the industry 3 to 5 years, he doesn't understand. He doesn't understand. I've seen the crowds change. I've seen the alcohol use change, drug use change, even down to like the cars on the strip. I remember when I used to come to Las Vegas, it doesn't matter what hotel you went to, you would see, Ferrari, Lamborghini, classic American car that cost a fortune, Rolls Royce, outside every hotel. It's not there anymore.
Yeah.
So things are changing, some for the better, some for the worst, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've seen some pretty big deals happen in Las Vegas. I think the Las Vegas nightlife industry is probably the biggest nightlife industry in North America, at least, if not the world. What other cities can contend with it? Maybe Dubai, maybe Ibiza, but there's a lot of money in the industry here.
Yeah, I mean, for I don't think there's many places. I don't have that much experience in Dubai, but what I have seen, it doesn't touch Vegas. I've watched people order $1 million worth of champagne.
Yeah, for real.
And pay the tax and swipe their card, and watch all the cocktail waitresses go absolutely crazy. They're going to carry it all out.
In Las Vegas, they've got a magazine, The Weekly, and they used to publish receipts from people, from the big spenders that would spend like $800 to like $1.3 million at the clubs, and they'd show usually ordering like 10 aces of spades and it's crazy.
I was on one of those receipts because I don't anything I drink is Corona.
Yeah. So it's like 5 aces of spades and a Corona.
And at the bottom it was at excess, and at the bottom it said 8 bottles of Corona, and 4 of those were mine.
There you go.
But I think it's relevant how it's changed.
Yeah.
But in Ibiza, people still spend. They'll spend big money, but nowhere near like here. Mm-hmm. I mean, in Dubai, there's people there that they've got limitless amounts of money, but they don't really spend it. They don't really spend it like happens here, and as that has happened here, and I've seen and witnessed. But it's just a different culture, obviously.
What I find really interesting is the big deals that have happened over the years, and you've had some like hands-on experience with those. And if you have the knowledge, I'd love it if you'd share. But like, what happened? Can you kind of walk us through what you saw with Pure turning into Angel Management Group, then turning into Hakkasan? And do you know like some details of how those deals went down?
Not really. I mean, there's a few fables that go around about certain people tried to go into a nightclub, couldn't get into a nightclub, so decided to buy it.
Yeah.
But when we were Angel Management Group, that was the starting company name in Vegas. And then when we bought Pure Management Group, as it was then.
And sorry to interrupt, but Pure Management Group, that was originally an Andre Agassi, the tennis players club, correct?
He was one of the investors. I don't know all the investors, but I know there was about 5 or 6 investors in Pure.
And they opened up the nightclub inside the Caesars Palace, called Pure. And then they ran that club. Pure Management Group ran that club and ran some restaurants, I guess, as well.
Yeah, Stevie, a guy called Stevie D. I can't remember his second name, but he's infamous in Las Vegas. He ran Pure nightclub. With a lot of practices that you wouldn't even imagine to try and do now.
Yeah.
That's one big change. I don't know the intricacies of the business, of how much they paid for it or whatever, but my portion of it was Moffat saying to me, listen, you're going to have all these venues, start coming up with a strategy of how big your street team's going to be, how you're going to do it, how you're going to take it on.
Yeah.
So when Pure Management Group became part of Angel Management Group, I'm trying to think if it happened, I can't remember if Angel Management Group bought Light Group then, and then we had Hakkasan, or it was Hakkasan Group who then bought Light Group. But Light Group, back then it was Hayes, which is now Jewel.
Right.
And they had Light nightclub inside Mandalay Bay.
Yes.
Daylight, pool, I'd like to think, and a few other restaurants and bars inside Mandalay Bay. They also had One Oak, and they had the bank inside Bellagio. So we then incorporated all those. I actually wasn't at Hakkasan Group. I was in Spain when Tau Group or Madison Square Garden Group, MSG Group, they bought Hakkasan Group. I don't really know the intricacies of that deal.
Right. So I guess the way the dominoes fell, it was Pure Management Group, then got consumed by Angel Management Group.
Yep.
Angel Management Group also consumed Light Group.
Yep.
So Angel Management Group, or AMG, was a giant in Las Vegas, and then they became Hakkasan Group essentially. And then Hakkasan Group, that was running most of the nightclubs in Las Vegas, then was bought out by Tau Group, which is
MSG and Tau.
Yeah, Madison Square Gardens, which is a public company, and that happened just prior to the pandemic, or just after the pandemic.
I'm not 100% sure. I'm pretty sure it was after the pandemic.
Yeah,
pretty sure.
But every step of those ways was a multi-million-dollar deal. Every time somebody bought somebody else, we were like tens of millions.
You're in the hundreds of millions.
And then hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
So what do these management groups do exactly?
Basically, everything to do with the venues, all the marketing, the hosting, promotions. There's several different deals and setups, so I guarantee no deal's really the same.
Yeah.
There's management partnerships as well. With MGM, I'm sure. I wouldn't know, but Tau Group now, that's then got MSG sold Tau Group to Mahari Group, so Mahari Group own it now.
Yep.
But there's management. Different companies do management deals with the casino owners, like MGM, Venetian, Cosmopolitan. They have management deals with management companies.
Right, because the casinos are the owners of the real estate, right? And then
sometimes.
Sure.
Sometimes. I know, I'm pretty sure that Tau Group or Mahari Group, they own Hakkasan, the building, and they own Omnia. But to what extent, I don't know now.
You're right.
But usually it's either an owned or it's a lease deal or something like that, I would imagine.
Right.
And they work together to make it work.
Right. So then the management group is basically responsible for completely running the venue.
100%.
But it's not necessarily the management group and the ownership aren't the same thing.
No.
So how does it separate? So so if I wanted to buy a nightclub, let's say that I had infinity money, and I go in and I want to buy Jewel at the Aria. So I buy this nightclub. It fits a couple thousand people, but I don't know how to run a nightclub. So I go to a management group to run it, and then we cut like a percentage deal, or you guys just give me some residuals on. Is that how it works?
I think nowadays it'd be a lot more difficult for that than that, because with the compliance, gaming control, the legalities of it. Obviously, it's inside a casino, so ultimately the casino are responsible for everything that goes on in there.
Yeah.
So if you did go and buy Jewel, it would be an MGM area sanctioned deal.
Yeah.
And the amount of red tape, I should imagine, just to get that far would be immense. But then you'd need a management company to go and run it.
Right.
And you'd need you'd either have to build your own management company, or you'd engage one that's experienced. And really, there's a couple of smaller ones, but the only experienced management company in Vegas right now is Tau Group.
Because they've bought everybody.
Yeah, they bought everybody out.
Yeah.
So their staff levels are like huge.
Right. What about the properties over at Wynn?
All owned in house.
Yeah, they're owned in house and managed in house.
Managed, run, marketed, promoted, it's all done in house.
Yeah, the Wynn is notorious for being very hands-on on pretty much everything. It's very, very challenging for a third-party company to work with Wynn.
I mean, look at the guy who built it.
Yeah,
he built half of Las Vegas.
He did build half of Las Vegas.
So a lot of people forget. There's people that come here and think Wynn is the name on the side of a hotel. They don't know the person that built it. I don't know too much about him, but what I have, it's like unbelievable what he did.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So it started off with the Mirage, and then actually Treasure Island. Well, even prior to that, I know that Steve Wynn's influence in Vegas is Las Vegas. It is Las Vegas. It is the modern version of Las Vegas was essentially drafted by Steve Wynn and built by Steve Wynn.
Yeah, I think, and then MGM is such a colossal company. With what they do. I mean, their company is like, if you ever do any research on MGM, look at all the other things they're involved in.
Oh yeah,
it's unbelievable.
Yeah,
all companies and all sorts.
Yeah, there's a book, I believe it's called The Aviator, and it's Kirk Kerkorian's story. It's a really fascinating book that talks about his come up and throughout his life. He's interesting. He started off just running an airplane company, sold a couple airplanes, sold his airplane company, and had enough money to start getting into the hotel game. And then next thing you know, he owns MGM. And it's very, very fascinating story. What so you've got your company here in Las Vegas, Footfall. Is it Footfall Entertainment or
No, just Footfall.
Footfall? I like it. That's like the Apple, right? So what do you do? What does your team do?
Basically, we market and promote nightclubs or party pools or day clubs or however you want to call it. We can market and promote anything, but the bit where I always excel at is the bit I know best, which is the street team. And I still believe that, and trying to explain this to people, they get it when I explain it this way. If you're a customer in Las Vegas and you're walking down the strip, and one of my promoters who knows the artist, he knows the music, he knows the act, if it's an act, he knows the venues because he's been there, and he'll tell you about it and try and get you on his guest list or try and sell you a ticket. It's the equivalent of if you have a problem with the bank and you ring the bank and get an automated system, nobody likes talking to those.
Right.
But if you're talking to a human being, you sort your problem out straight away. And you prefer it. Absolutely. Well, why would it be any different to somebody putting you in a nightclub or telling you about a nightclub or a day club?
Right.
And that's the bit that's lost on a lot of people. But the other thing is it's when people have asked me how I've been successful for so long in doing it, it's like looking at in my opinion, it's just like I'm probably just a good coach. Whereas you have using your American football terminology, if you have a coach for a football team and he's very successful, if you notice his team changes all the time, but the coach doesn't change.
Yeah.
I've had literally thousands of promoters. Some of them have gone on to run companies. I know one of them runs the Ministry of Sound in London. There's others that have become artist management. Some have become huge marketing executives. One of them's got a huge marketing agency in the UK. Several of them are huge in Ibiza of what they do now.
Yep.
And they all started giving out flyers. But a lot of people in Vegas started out as promoters. Mm-hmm. Biggest host in this city, whether independent or working for a company.
Yep.
They were promoters first. But basically that's what we do. We promote to people on the strip. We promote to people online. We use, social media in all its forms. And we put people into nightclubs.
Nice. How have you seen the industry change since COVID? Because it's been a big change since COVID. I've seen it in what I do. I do similar stuff to you. Yeah. But how have you specifically seen it change? Have you seen on the clientele side of things?
I noticed that clientele seems to have got a lot younger.
Younger. In
the masses, so to speak. But straight after COVID, everybody came out because everybody was obviously caged. Nobody had been out, nobody had partied, nobody had done whatever. So when COVID ended and things started opening up, people started going and hitting clubs, and it was busy. And I think that it's continued to be busy for quite a while. But the biggest change I would see, in just my opinion, is whether it's because I'm getting older, and everybody seems young when you get older, but the crowd seems a lot younger, and they seem a lot more musically intelligent.
Really?
Yeah, they really prefer their surroundings as well as the artist or the act or the music, whereas before people would go because, if Calvin Harris was playing at a venue, they'd just say, because they wanted to tell people, yeah, I saw Calvin Harris show, whatever. But now there's a lot of artists that, cross over onto the mainstream with music and stuff like that, so they'll visit that club for that artist. But a lot of people go to venues now because they like that venue. I mean, Omnia's a spectacular venue. XS is a spectacular venue. Zouk is an amazing venue. Personally, I like Zouk because it's like a nightclub in England.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
But obviously, it's like on steroids. It's very clean. It's like smart, up to date, etc. But it's starting. It's just a change, and I think it's maybe just because we're getting older, the crowd gets younger, but it seemed like 15 years ago, it just seemed. But I think the drinking thing as well has changed.
Yeah,
I think people now drink a lot less.
I agree.
They probably do a lot of things not to excess like they used to back in the day.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a cultural thing. Who knows?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a cultural shift away from alcohol. It seems like maybe it's the proliferation of social media and all the health nuts that are on Instagram and stuff like that. But I remember when I was 21, it was all about going out and getting smashed.
Yeah.
And I don't see that as much anymore.
I think the last few weeks in Vegas, there's been a lot of students in town.
Mm-hmm. And the students will always get smashed.
But even those guys, you're not seeing a lot of them staggering around. A lot of them, passed out drunk, stuff like that. Maybe it's because it's a casino setting, but again, like we just said, maybe it's just social media, maybe it's just culture that they don't do that. But in their local bars or places local to their campuses, I'm sure they still go out and get smashed.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think the next 3-4 years is going to look like in the industry?
I think that with the addition of bigger casinos, more nightclubs, I think people need to look at the services they provide and how they provide them. One thing I was always taught way back in England was always listen to your crowd. Mm-hmm. And I've always tried to work front of house at every venue I've ever worked at, whether it's been in Spain, England, or here, and talk to the guests, see what the guests want, talk to them online, see what they want, see what they didn't like. A lot of people don't realise that if you're in Ibiza or if you're in Vegas, remember, I was a tourist in Vegas long before I worked here. The wrong thing said to you on a door could ruin your entire experience, your whole weekend, mm-hmm. your entire week. And it's things like that I learned when I was younger. You'd have a burly doorman tell me you're not getting in with those shoes on. That was it. It was ruined. All my friends are going there. I wouldn't go in there. My weekend was ruined. But it's the same thing here. I apply the same thing here. If a guest has a problem, try and sort it for him. He doesn't live here.
Yeah.
He's got one night. It might be him, it might be his girlfriend, it might be a man, wife, 2 guys, 2 girls. Yeah. But that's their weekend. They probably paid a lot of money to get here, even if they drove here. They still had to pay a lot of money.
Yeah.
So if you listen to the crowd, listen to your guests. But as more and more places open, I think that people are going to have to be on their A game with service.
Yeah.
If they want to retain their guests.
Yeah. The way that I see it is a few years ago, probably in like 2014, when Hakkasan opened, there was what I refer to as the DJ wars. It's when every DJ started getting the high tickets to come in and play, and then suddenly bottle service, it didn't just become a luxury, it became a must. And bottle service was getting jammed down people's throats really hard. Like it was almost like you couldn't even go to a nightclub without spending $2,000 on bottle service. I remember when bottle service was like $300, maybe plus tip, and then it's $500, and it's like minimum $1,500, minimum $2,000. I went to Tao Beach for my birthday. I think our minimum was $5,000. $5,000.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like the interesting thing, a little story is that when I sat down at the table, I was the guest of honor because it was my birthday, and the server showed me the menu, and she's like, I really recommend that you just get this, and this. And it was like, 4 bottles of champagne and like things that like my crowd would definitely like not really want. Like we're not really into champagne, especially when a bottle of champagne is like $1,500. And she just recommended that I blow my minimum like before anybody had their first drink, so that you're on to like the $10,000. But I found that interesting. I thought it was actually very clever. I didn't fall for it. I almost did. She had a really nice smile. But the thing is that like I think over time people started to not appreciate having to spend so much money just for going out to the clubs and having to pay like $50, $60, $70, $80, $100 just to walk in the door. And I've seen a shift away from that in Las Vegas. What's your thoughts on that?
I'm lucky with some of the clients I work with. They do listen to us, their promo team, and if we suggest to them, we give them that our advice about how to look after the guest experience and things like that, and they do listen. But it's more. But back then, I think everybody used to focus on the bottles customer, and didn't really care about the GA. Right? It's just to them it was just filler. The hosts have their job to sell the bottles, and get the revenue that way. But it was always been my job to look after the GA crowd. So some of the clients I work with now, they're looking after the GA. But the key thing in the future doesn't matter what happens, and the key thing for me, it's always been the same thing. It's GA. If you've got no people in your nightclub, but all the tables are sat, you've got an alcohol restaurant. That's all you've got.
Yeah.
It's listening to music from an artist that's cost them a lot of money. But I think, like I said, people need to up their service, up how they're treating guests, what they provide for guests. But everything's like swings and roundabouts. Like that saying, what goes around comes around. If you want to see an artist, buy a ticket. You're guaranteed to see him. You're guaranteed to go in. But a lot of people trade on guest list, and they just want the crowd however they can get it.
Yeah.
But you have to look after that crowd once you've got it. And some of the clients I've worked with do a really good job of looking after that crowd, even when it's en masse. You're talking 2,000-3,000 people outside your venue.
Yeah.
And it's hard when you start looking after people like that and trying to, just not treat them badly and get them in so they have a good experience. Again, they're tourists. So you ruin their night, you ruin one person's night.
You ruin their holiday.
Correct.
You ruin their impression of Vegas.
100%.
Yeah.
They won't come back.
Yeah, that's one thing that I take really seriously. It's that us being in this industry, we're not just representing the nightclubs that we're representing Vegas, and
100%.
And it's the destination, because you can destroy somebody's night so easily, and it's very easy to destroy someone who's been drinking their night. Like they're a lot more volatile, so you got to be really careful with that. But
me personally, I've had 20 years experience of dealing with people that are high on all sorts of things, and it's primarily how you treat them. But again, every single person is different shape, size, color, sex, whatever it is. No two people are the same ever, and if they're disgruntled in any way, it's part of your job to try and make it better.
Yeah.
If you can fix it, fix it. If you can't, you have to admit you can't.
Yeah.
But that's the business we're in.
So we've got a couple new casinos opening up in Las Vegas, most notably the Fountain Blue. Fountain Blue exists in Miami. Have you spent any time there?
I've stayed there a couple of times.
Yeah. Beautiful hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Infamous place.
Yeah, absolutely. And inside Fountain Blue in Miami is one of the most notorious nightclubs in the States, Live nightclub. And they're opening a Live here in Las Vegas. What do you know about that?
I do know that I think it's Live nightclub inside Fountain Blue. I think it's called Live Beach, I'm not sure. I think it's a little bit different from other brands that have come to Vegas. The simple reason is it's well established in America already.
Right.
I mean, I've seen a lot of brands, including God's Kitchen, Gatecrasher, Cream, and brands from Europe come here. Maybe some have a good run, some have a short run, but for whatever reason they're not here anymore.
Yeah.
I think it's just evolved. Liv's just evolved in their market. I mean, they're number one in their market in Miami.
Oh yeah,
without doubt. I've been to the club several times.
Yep.
I've never had a bad time. Never had a bad experience on the door to get in. Always got treated like gold. Even when I've been a GA customer or I've been a table customer, had a great time. Same with their other venue, Story.
Yep.
I don't think it's open anymore, but I think if they bring what they do in Miami to Vegas, they'll be successful.
What do you know how big the venue is going to be?
I don't know the official capacity of it.
Yeah, you have an idea? Is it bigger?
I think it's around 2,300. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah,
I don't know whether it's been officially measured yet.
Yeah, living in Miami, I think it's only like 800 people, maybe like 1,200 people. It's small compared to the nightclubs that are out here.
Yeah, live in Miami is like, it reminds me of a thing in a British sci-fi series, Doctor Who. It's called the TARDIS. And it's like an old phone box, police phone box. Then you go inside and it's huge. It reminds me of that, because you think it's not going to be very big, and you just seem to be walking forever to get to your table because of the balcony, and then you walk down and you walk round. And when you're in it, it doesn't seem small.
Yeah.
And even if you were to do a head count in there, but I like clubs like that because you can see everybody in the room. But then I've had some fantastic nights at Omnia as well, where there's like 4,000 people, not in the room, but at the club. Sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing.
What do you think is going to make or break a club like Live at Fontainebleau opening in Vegas?
Same as any club. It's service, how people are treated, the sound, the atmosphere in the venue, how the venue's run, managed, serviced, and then you put, I don't want to put it all on the talent's shoulders, because sometimes I've had some of the best nights ever in Vegas with a local DJ playing in a warm-up DJ playing.
Yep.
And he's played for an hour and I've loved it. And then the main act's gone on and I've not liked it anymore.
Right.
But it's like anything, to be successful is be good at what you do and just keep doing it.
Yeah.
But you have to be consistent doing it.
So when you have some venues that have opened up in Las Vegas and they were kind of poised to do really well, but then have fallen under. Like you mentioned some of the brands from Europe that came over. Do you remember when Nikki Beach opened up at Tropicana?
Yeah, I remember it vaguely.
Yeah. It's not a international brand, but when Chaos opened up at Palms, what do you think was the issue with Chaos opened up in, I think it was 2018, maybe 2019.
2019 it opened.
Yeah. They had some of the biggest acts going to that spot. What do you think? But they only stayed open for 6-8 months or so?
I actually left before it opened. It was announced before I left Hakkasan Group for Spain. I knew it was going to happen. I was interviewed a few times about working there. My view leaving those interviews was I was confused. It didn't seem that those people really knew 100% what they were doing in that business or that realm. That was just the people I met. I'm not saying that about anybody else that was at Chaos. It was just my experience. But then I left Vegas and went to Spain, sold up and went to Spain. And in the time that I was in Spain, it just closed. And I know there's a lot of rumours going around, and I've never really asked about it. I was never involved in it. I have actually seen the two venues. I've never seen them with people in. The pool, I never seen it fully opened up like it was in operation when it was, I can't remember what it was called. But Chaos, the club, I actually got invited to walk around it. Literally, I think it was about 3 months ago. And it's a beautiful club.
Yeah.
And some of the facets of that club, like there's a couple of booths on the balcony, are like really well done, well constructed, great views, stuff like that. So, but I don't know why it failed. From what I ever saw, it looked busy-ish, but pictures and videos can be deceiving. But I didn't really hear a lot about it. I saw the rumours and the stories from different people, but I don't really know anything that really went on because I wasn't here.
Yeah.
And by the time I came back, I went to LA, and then by the time I come back to Vegas in 21, nobody was really talking about it.
Yeah. Well, Well, if we talk about promotions teams, like you run a very successful promotion team. You said before that you're a good coach. So what makes a good promoter?
Same as it's whether I what I bring to this is the same as construction worker. So it comes back to when I was like a roofing contractor. Basically, everything was on the floor. You had to carry it up the ladder. And a guy said to me once it's up there, it's done. There's nothing you can do about it. But once you get it all up there, that's it. It's done. Now you just fix it to the roof. You don't have to bring it all down. So I had that mentality going into and working with a gang of guys. I'd motivate the guys to get all this stuff and get it up onto the roof. Well, I do the same thing with promotions. If you go out, it's like any job. With promotions, the more you put into it, the more you get out. And it's more of a lifestyle than a job if you do it properly. It's, if you're going out, you're talking to people, you're promoting to people, you tell people what you do, you're going to have your car service, you tell the mechanic what you do, and they remember. If you do it correctly, they'll remember. So you sort of build a network. Then if anybody ever wants to go to a nightclub, you're their guy. Yeah. You're their guy in Vegas, so to speak. But it's being consistent with them, as in you have to motivate them all the time, even when they're having a bad day. And how I've always done it, and I've had plenty of people try to copy what I do, even in Vegas, and they've never succeeded. And it's not just me, it's other people that I work with. I'm really lucky that some of the managers and people I've worked with, both above me and below me, have been really good. And the guys I've got working for me now and the support team I've got now are amazing. If you all believe in something and it being a promo team and you run a team that way, it doesn't matter if it's a football team, an F1 pit crew, if you all think the same way, you'll succeed.
Yeah.
And even if, my team, everybody's got a point of view. Everybody's got a voice. Never have been the type of guy who wants to sit in a corner office on his own. Anytime I've been given an office, I was given a corner office when I was at Hakkasan Group. I had my number 2, number 3, number 4 sharing the same office because I didn't want to work like that. Yeah. And I believe that if you treat your staff like that, your managers like that, your team like that, you'll succeed.
Yeah, leadership comes from the top.
But I'm the same as them. I mean, I'm not as pretty as some of them. And I'm a lot older than all of them. But I'm the same as them. I'm no better than them.
Yeah.
They do the same job as I do. I might do it on the phone. I might get a deal. But like I was taught back in the day, once you've gone out and you've promoted and the show starts and the guest is closed, that's it.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do. And if people go and you were successful, great, you put 1,000, you put 1,500 people in the club, your client's happy, the venue's happy, all the staff who work in that club and associated with that club are happy, perfect, you did your job.
Yeah.
But it's gone. Now you've got a day club to do, and you've got a nightclub to do, and it never stops.
So the world keeps spinning.
It's like for me, it's like balancing plates on top of poles, and you have to keep them spinning all the time. Yeah. So that's what your client's expecting from you. And you can never turn it off.
What are the perks of being a promoter?
Perks are if you do it correctly, you can get comp tables. The host will look after you. The venue will look after you. The restaurant will look after you. Whatever you promote, you usually get freebies off it, or you'll get treated well off it because you're part of their team. You help their team out, they'll help you out.
Yeah.
If you go to a restaurant, you might get priority seating or something like that. You might get appetizers free because of what you do.
Just get a little bit of royalty treatment.
Yeah, you might get free drinks when you go to a club that you're not associated with.
Yeah.
Even in other cities. But one of the perks is you can earn a lot of money if you're a promoter. Yeah. If you're good at it and you spend a lot of time on it and you're consistent with it and you build up your network and you work hard on the strip and you work hard online, you can make a lot of money.
Yeah.
There's no ceiling to it. Same as being, a VIP host. If he sells more tables than anybody else, he'll earn more money than anybody else.
How does it generally work? So like somebody gets like a base pay, or they just commission, and then for every person that walks in the door, they get $1 to $4 or $5, $6 a head. Is that
Yeah, I won't go into specific rates, but basically they get an hourly. A lot of the main team get an hourly rate.
Yep.
They would move up to management, or you would have leads or management, and they're salaried. And then for each male or each female they put into the nightclub, if it's applicable that night at that venue, they'll get a return rate. It can range anything from $10 to $2, depending on the night, depending on the artist, depending on how many tickets have been sold. Generally, you get the same commission on ticket sales or on package sales. But it's being consistent, doing it over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Instead of, you've got promoters. I've got promoters that will do 10 people. I've got promoters that will do 80 people, and I've got promoters that do 150 people a night. So, but you have to keep the balance.
What separates the people that do 150 from the people that do 10?
Time doing it.
Time.
And networks, really.
Yeah.
If you look after 4 guests in Vegas, and they have a great time, and you put them everywhere they need to go,
yep,
and they have a good time, and they get treated well, and etc. They leave, go back home, whether it's back to Utah or Miami or LA or Chicago, wherever they're from. They tell their friends, I've been to Vegas, blah, 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 blah.
You're their guy.
Bit later on, they have friends or work colleagues or whoever says, I'm going to Vegas. I've got a guy for you. Bring this guy. That's, Vegas is really good for that.
Yeah.
I think, going back to what you said earlier, not to change the subject, but Vegas, I think, sometimes gets a bad rep as the city of sin or things like that. There's a lot of good people that work really hard in Vegas to support Vegas and do their job, and for people to come here and have a great vacation, great time. And I think personally, traveling around the world in the past 2-3 years, Vegas is one of the safest places on the planet.
Absolutely.
With the cameras, the police, the police force here are a lot different to anywhere else in the world.
We take it very seriously.
Yeah, but the police here do an amazing job. You see them everywhere. Well, a lot of people take that for granted, a lot, because there's a lot of places they don't have a police force like ours.
No.
So the more people that work on the positive side of Vegas, the better the city will stay and become.
Yeah.
My opinion, anyway.
Yeah, I've seen. Me in the industry, I always make sure that our service is like top notch, because we have some of the best service in the world.
Yep.
Like there's places, I hate to say this about Miami, but I go to Miami, I walk into a pizzeria, the guy's looking at me like, what do you want? It's like, I would like a slice of pizza. Like now, like is something lost here? Like, but here in Vegas, you get really good service, and that's important for our reputation. It's top notch, top tier. Look at all the technology that's coming into town. We're always pushing the boundary of what the best is. The nightclubs here, like you can't compare the nightclubs to.
I don't think you can compare any nightclub in Vegas. You could say live in Miami. There's a couple of clubs in LA. Chicago, a lot of places they'll have a decent venue.
Yeah.
But when you put them up against venues like Vegas, they don't really compete.
No.
It's not the same. It's not the same thing. I think to be really honest, Ibiza is one of the most competitive nightclub markets in the world, bar none, without a doubt. But right alongside that is Vegas.
Yeah.
I can't think of any more competitive markets anywhere in the world other than Ibiza and Las Vegas.
What is it like running your own company? Like what tell me about that.
Tough. Really
Why?
Tough.
Why?
I've obviously worked for a middle-sized company lower down as an employee, and as I kept growing and got to executive level, you learn a lot more, obviously, and you see a lot more because you're given more information, more stress. And I've run venues and been within a team of people of say 12, 15 people back in the Hakasang days that were basically running, 30, 40 venues, nightclubs, pools, restaurants, diners, all sorts. And that team, the teams back then were like, to be honest, overworked, all of them. And it was stressful and it was tough and it was hard, but it was nothing compared to having my own business. Running somebody else's business, now looking back, is amazing.
What's the hardest part?
There's no easy part of it.
There's no easy part.
Ever.
Right.
From the minute you wake, even when you're asleep,
But-
you're carrying everybody on your shoulders.
But you've always had the responsibility of bringing people on as like a manager and hiring the teams and building the teams, right? So where does it get? Isn't that just what you do now?
No.
No.
I wish. I employ somebody who does that.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And he probably thinks what you just said. Oh, I just hire people. I just bring them on and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I don't allow him to do that. The two of the top guys in my company, we have a rule. I might own the company. They have a third share say. So I can't overrule those two. I can legally, technically.
Yeah.
Whatever I say goes.
Yeah.
But the deal I've got with those two who helped me build the company is they have a third share say. So
Yeah.
if those two don't want to do something, we don't do it.
Okay.
So I'm outvoted.
That's good.
But I remember being with a couple of my friends over the years and not understanding, why they were so stressed. And, sometimes they just seemed like off in their own world, and I was having a conversation with them and they would put a brave face on it, as I knew now. But now looking back, knowing what I know now, I know exactly what they were going through.
Well, what are some of those things?
It's just you're carrying around all the time your staff. You think about your staff. You care about your staff.
Yeah.
A lot of my staff have got kids, got mortgages, dreams, if you like. And you've got to make sure they get paid every time on time. All our contractors get paid on time, every time. But it's just, nothing's guaranteed when it's your own business. So just the way my mind works, it's just nothing's guaranteed. Everything, what a lot of people don't know is I've lost everything twice in my life. Twice. Everything I've built up when I had my roofing company back in the day, I was doing really well, but it just went. A couple of people went bankrupt, a couple of bigger contractors went bankrupt on me. That was it, wiped out, nothing.
Yeah.
10 years hard work, every day. Gone. Start again. No bank account, no credit card, earning $200 a week. And then you build it up again. Then COVID, bang, lost everything again.
Yeah.
So now that fear is like in the back of your mind. But it's hard to describe, when you get a big contract and you negotiated a big contract, that's one thing. And people think you're going to go out and celebrate, drink champagne. You've got to fulfill the contract now.
Yeah.
Whereas everybody might be happy, the team's happy. Oh, great, we got a new contract, blah, blah, blah. They're all excited, and so they should be. But I've got to fulfill it because you've become part of a bigger team now.
Yeah. I find when you've got these contracts, it's really that you've got new bosses.
Yeah, but you sort of have new bosses, but now you've got your part. And somebody used to explain this to me as like you're just an important part of a car engine.
Yeah.
And when they put you on there, you have a job to do. And in order for that engine to run right, you've got to do your job all the time. If you like, if it's like, I don't know, an oil pump on a car, if it stops working, the whole engine stops.
Yeah.
That engine doesn't work.
Yeah.
Whatever it's driving stops. But it's the same when you get a large contract with somebody or a contract for somebody, large or small. Those people are depending on you to do your job, but you're also depending on them. So you all stand on each other's shoulders. We can bring the people to the nightclub. Have you got guest list girls to check them off and put them in? Have you got security to search them, put them in safely? Is your door set up right? Is your drop-off point for the cars and the coaches and Uber and all that to drop them off safe? the nightclub has to be run right, security in there, the cocktail waitresses, the bussers, the DJ, the techs behind the lights and the sound. When you actually think about it, it's a lot of people to make a nightclub work. And you're just a small part of that. But if any part of it doesn't work, the rest of it doesn't work. If the sound doesn't work, it's over. If the lights don't work, it's over. If the guest list girls and ID people can't ID people, nobody's getting into your nightclub, none of it works. So it's like when you get a big contract, you're now becoming a part of a big team, but then you've got the pressure of, now we've got to work. Mm-hmm. But to me, I've been under a lot of pressure for over 20 years. So I'm not worried about the pressure at all. Never bothers me. But one thing I'm really cognizant of and always have been, doesn't matter where I've worked, one of my favourite things to do is when round 1:30, 1:15, 1:30, when the guest list is closed, and you walk into the club, whether you walk up onto the stage and look over the DJ's shoulder and look at the crowd, and you see thousands of people having a good time, enjoying the music, enjoying the drink, interacting with each other. In my mind, to be part of, I helped do that. And then reality jumps into place. You better go home because you've got to do it again tomorrow. And again, and again, and again. But I was told a long time ago, you're only as good as your last show.
Yeah.
But it's one key thing about running your own business or life, I suppose. I'm really lucky. I love doing what I do. Always have. And if you love doing what you do, it's easier. Trust me, I've done jobs that I didn't like doing. And, I've poured concrete. I've been up to my knees in concrete all day, 6 days a week for 12 hours a day, shoveling concrete. That's hard work. That's real work, in my opinion. What we do is work, and sometimes it's hard, but it's not as hard as doing that. But I didn't love shoveling concrete, but I do love being a promoter.
Yeah. When if somebody wants to get into the nightlife industry and they want to come to Vegas, what do you recommend they do?
Depending what they really want to think about your end goal, and whatever you do, you want to be training towards that end goal. So if you want to go into nightclub management, go and become a busser. Go and become being a bartender in Vegas is a technical job. A good bartender make you a lot of money. And it's a tough job being a bartender. And all the jobs in nightlife are tough, I suppose. But whatever you want to do in nightlife, think of the end goal. And then even if it's a DJ, well, go and become a trainee technician to work out how the club works. I think most people in nightlife think they just, take a cocktail waitress. She might be, gorgeous, really intelligent, etc., and she goes and becomes a cocktail waitress. If she doesn't know what the busser does and she can't work with the busser, she's going to run into trouble real quick. Mm-hmm. So whatever you do, you need to have an end goal. Because I very much doubt that, a cocktail waitress is thinking, well, that's my end goal. I'm just going to do this and that's the end. Maybe it is. I don't know. But if you're coming to Vegas you need to know your end goal. If you want to own a nightclub, you should know how to do every single job inside that club. Yeah. You should know how to carry, set a table up. You should understand what a cocktail waitress does every night, does before she goes on the floor, does when she's working, same as a busser. People forget all those, a lot of people forget about bussers. They all see the cocktail waitress looking all glamorous and all pretty and very welcoming. And then you don't see the guy behind her that's carrying all the ice, carrying all the glasses, carrying all the trash. And remember, that cocktail waitress and that busser, they don't get to sit down. They're on their feet the entire time. You're still on your feet dancing because you want to. And then when you get tired, you sit down. They don't. They're running and getting you another bottle or getting you a drink or getting you ice or pouring you a drink or clearing up your table, clearing up the mess you made. But if you want to get into nightlife, be specific. Don't come here and not know what you want to do.
If someone wants to come and work for you as a promoter, what are you looking for and what should they do?
Just be, if they want to come and work for us, they can contact us online. We've got a website,
What's the website?
footfallusa.com.
Yeah.
They can contact us through that. But understand what the job is. You are going to go and work on the strip for 6 hours, and you're going to talk to people consistently. You're going to get abused. You're going to get called names. You're going to get told where to go away in a very American way. But it's not, that's the downside of it. You know, sometimes it's cold, and Vegas is Vegas, it's a desert. So my guys have gone out and do this for 6 hours in 120 degree heat, and we'll put in the chat water break, which they'll never get a complaint about. And they stand there, but all they're trying to do is to put people on a guest list and sell their particular venue or property. A lot of people don't understand that as promoters, we're trying to promote the nightclub, always trying to promote the day club.
Yep.
Those nightclubs and those pools are in hotels, which we also promote. We don't get credit for it, but we promote the whole casino.
Yep.
Whether it's, you know, Resorts World, Fontainebleau, MGM, those promoters, it's like you don't just walk into a casino and not spend any money. You might walk in and pay for parking. You might have an Uber. Then you walk in. You might smoke. You might buy gum. You might have dinner. You might have a drink in a bar first. You might eat there. You might, you know, I don't know. You might have the wrong trousers on. You might go in shorts. You might go and buy a pair of trousers on the casino floor. And then you gamble. Then you go to the nightclub. The promoter will never get credit for anybody that gambles or anybody that eats.
Right.
He'll just get credit for the person he puts in the club. That's all part of it. But if that guest, through talking to that promoter, has a great experience, it goes back to what we said before. He's my man in Vegas, or that's my girl in Vegas. That's the person I'm going to ring. But if you're going to be a promoter in Vegas, it's hard work. But same as any job, you'll get out of it what you put in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The skills that you can pick up working in the promotions industry will take you through your entire career, not just your career in hospitality, but if you want to get into sales, if you want to go into the military, the discipline that you learn from doing this it's profound. And I have a lot of respect for promoters that are out there, especially the ones that do well and work hard.
The other thing is, it's like, I've been to a few, you know, when you try and buy a car, you know, I know a specific type of car, you have an idea what sort of car you want, you go to the dealership. If you go to a Mercedes dealership, they're going to sell you a Mercedes, it's obvious, right? But those car salesmen wouldn't last 10 minutes on the strip. Not 10 minutes.
Yeah.
You could swap out all their sales team for my promoters and they'd walk them into the ground. You give them, instead of telling them what artist it is, what club it is, what time they've got to get there, etc., just give them the specifications on a car. I guarantee they'd sell it.
Yep.
Like you said, if you can stand on the strip, and you're not just talking to 10 people or 20 people, you're talking to thousands of people over a weekend. Thousands. And you might get 100, 150 of them. But the other 1,000 have heard what you said. They might not be, you know, it might be too cool for school to stop for a flyer.
Right.
But they listen to what you said and where you've saying it. You know, we've got Tiesto at Resorts World. You might not stop for a flyer, but you'll walk off, look at your friend and go, Tiesto's playing at Resorts World. Oh, I like Resorts World. Let's go there.
Do your promoters collect data from people?
Some do.
Yeah.
Some build up networks. We're working on something at the minute where the promoter can basically manage his own data.
Yep.
And the company will pay for him to contact his own data without stealing it from him. Because a lot of promoters do collect data, but the companies they work for, and rightly so, they own that data because you're being paid
to collect it.
To collect it on their dime, pushing their venues that they work very hard and spend a lot of money building and running, etc. So they use that data. But I want to try and do it a different way. We're getting there. We're getting there bit by bit. My promoters, on the whole, trust me that I'm not going to go and run off and steal all their data and send a Footfall email saying, "Oh, come on, our guest. This will don't have to give them commissions." That defeats the whole object, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If the promoter's built a database, I want him to earn the money. I'm never worried when I see when the payroll number comes through.
You want to pay your people as
From
much as
accounts.
possible.
The more they earn, the more I earn.
Yeah.
So it makes no difference to me. But it's
And it'll keep them in your network, and like, you know, they'll enjoy working for you as long as you're treating them properly.
Yeah, it's a sign of those guys earning money. A lot of it's commission based, obviously, but those guys earning money is once they get a taste for it, it's like the rest of us, right? We get a taste for it, we want more of it.
Yeah.
So we work harder to get it, and then we get more. Now we want more. But so the more they earn, the happier I am. You know, one of my promoters last week, I looked at his paycheck, and it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. It was 10 times what I got paid a week when I first come here.
Okay, you got to tell us how much it was.
No. But he earns a lot of money.
Was it north of $2,000?
Yeah. And it's you know, it doesn't worry me at all.
For a week?
Yeah.
All right, that's good.
But you're talking, this guy's worked from Thursday to Sunday.
Yeah.
In hours.
Yeah.
On the surface, you just think he's worked from Thursday to Sunday. But realistically, when he goes home and he's sat on the couch with his wife, his phone's going to go off
Right.
the entire time, which I'm sure annoys his wife or his partner. You know, a promoter's partner's got to have the patience of a saint, because that phone's not going to stop. They put these people on the guest list, and people ask them questions all day. Then they get to the club and they want to ask another question. This can go through to 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. And you have to respond. Mm-hmm. So it's like never ending.
Yeah.
Then they get up in the morning and they do it all over again.
Yeah.
But I actually like it. Like I said, I love my job. I love working with other promoters. I love training them. But seeing one like him earn that much money, okay, I succeeded with him. Next. Same in Ibiza. When I was paying those guys their money, or in England, whenever I was paying those guys money, the more they earn, the happier I was for them. You know, a lot of them were earning more than me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the point. I think all sales reps should be making more than the manager, for sure. Well, not all of them, but the top guys should be.
Yeah, but it's not. There's not many industries where your staff are constantly earning more than the management.
No.
And if your management looking at the payroll, and you're seeing that a lot of the guys that you train and help do their job are earning more than you, that takes that takes a certain type of person to be able to handle that every week as well. And like I said, I have two of the best in the business, so I'm lucky that way. I'm blessed that way. But they enjoy doing what we do as well. And like you said, you know, new blood coming through, maybe there'll be new ideas and stuff like that. But I can't see if you're a good promoter or a good host or a good cocktail waitress or a good busser, you survive.
Nice.
In a tough industry.
So, last question, what is next for you and your company?
The ultimate goal for us is I set out to control a certain percentage of the GA in Las Vegas.
The general admission, yeah.
Yeah. Basically, in 2017 and 2018, the promotion team I had at Hakkasan, we did 1 million people in 2017 and 1 million people 2018.
That is impressive.
Just the promotion team. Nothing to do with marketing, nothing to do with tickets. We did over 1 million people both years. I mean, the goal would be to do 1 million people again, but that's a long stretch. You know, we do over 250,000 now, with a team a quarter of the size. So I'm on track to do it. But if we can, whoever we work for, whatever clients we get, if we carry on growing and the team carries on growing, as long as I'm doing my job, I'm going to be happy. But I want to get to a certain level, so everybody from me down succeeds more than they are now.
That's awesome, man. I'm rooting for you. Well, thanks so much for coming in. I appreciate it. Gaz, it's always a pleasure. And we will see you next time. Thanks.